Their voices were angelic pure, soaring above cathedral domes, like heaven's own chorus. But what no one heard beneath the music was the scream. In 17th and 18th century Italy, the most celebrated voices in the world came from boys who had been mutilated in secret. They were known as castrati, young boys castrated before puberty, to preserve their high ethereal pitch. And while their songs filled churches and opera houses, their lives were marked by pain, control, and irreversible sacrifice. At the heart of this phenomenon stood religious and musical institutions, which claimed the practice honored God. Women were banned from singing in church, and boys' voices, though beautiful, eventually changed. So a solution was created, one cloaked in silence and stitched in shame. Poor families, desperate for survival, were often persuaded, sometimes even tricked, into offering their sons to music schools. Castration, they were told, would offer a life of fame, wealth, and favor with God. What it delivered was fame for a few and suffering for many. The operation was brutal and often performed in unsanitary conditions. Those who survived were forced into years of training, and if their voices failed to impress, they were a discarded half-man, half-boy, with no place in society. But some became legends. Farinelli, perhaps the most famous castrato, mesmerized kings and queens. His voice was said to reduce listeners to tears. Popes requested his presence, emperors begged for. But behind the applause stood a man who could never marry, never father children, never be whole. By the late 1800s, the practice faded as public outcry grew. But for over 200 years, thousands of boys were silenced in body, so they could be heard in song. They sang for God, but it was men who took their voices, and history still struggles to hear the cost.